Watch your dachshund the next time they wake up from a nap. Really watch them. Do they stretch long and slow? Front paws sliding forward, that impossibly long back arching like a drawn bow before settling flat again? Or do they get up stiff, hesitate, and skip the stretch entirely? That one small moment tells you more about the state of your dachshund's health and happiness than almost anything else, and most owners never think to look for it. Here's the truth about dachshunds. They are masters at hiding how they feel. They were built to work independently, far from human eyes, and that old wiring means a dachshund in discomfort will often carry on as if nothing is wrong until the problem is serious. So the signs of a well-cared-for dachshund aren't loud. They're quiet, subtle, and easy to miss unless you know exactly what you're looking for. In this video, you're going to learn 8 specific signs that your dachshund is genuinely thriving, not just surviving. These aren't the generic markers you'll find on every pet checklist. These are Dachshund-specific signals, rooted in how this breed's unique body and mind actually work. By the end, you'll be able to look at your own dog and know with real confidence whether the care you're giving is landing where it matters. And if you spot a gap, you'll know exactly what to adjust. Let's get into it. Sign 1. They move through your home without hesitating. The first sign has nothing to do with what your dachshund does and everything to do with what they don't do. A well-cared-for dachshund moves through your home fluidly. They don't pause at the bottom of the couch and calculate. They don't hover at the edge of the bed working up courage. They don't slow down before a step or shift their weight awkwardly before turning a corner. Why does this matter so much for this breed specifically? Because a dachshund's spine is the single most vulnerable part of their body. Their long back and short legs create leverage forces that other dogs simply don't experience, and roughly 1 in 4 dachshunds will deal with some form of disc trouble in their lifetime. When a dachshund starts hesitating before movements they used to do freely, it's very often the earliest whisper of back discomfort, long before there's any yelping or obvious pain. So when your dachshund trots confidently to their ramp, walks up it without breaking stride, and hops down onto a surface without bracing themselves, that's not just a cute habit. That's the visible result of an owner who managed their environment properly. It means the jumping has been controlled, the ramps or steps are actually being used, and the spine has been protected day after day. Fluid, thoughtless movement is what a protected back looks like from the outside. If you're seeing it, you're doing something very right. Quick one. If your dachshund is barking, having potty accidents, ignoring you, or you're worried about their back, I put everything that actually works into a 30-day plan to protect their back, master potty training, and stop stubborn behavior. 1 printable page a day, 15 minutes, no experience needed. Links in the description. Let's continue. Sign 2. You can feel their ribs, but you can't see them. Now run your hands along your dachshund's sides. Don't look, feel. Press gently just behind the shoulders and slide your palms back toward the hips. In a well-cared-for dachshund, you should feel the ribs under a thin, smooth layer of padding, the way you'd feel the back of your own hand through a light glove. You shouldn't have to push through a layer of squish to find them, and they shouldn't be jutting out either. Here's why this deserves its own spot on the list, rather than being lumped into generic healthy weight advice. For most breeds, a couple of extra pounds is a minor issue. For a dachshund, extra weight is a direct mechanical load on that long, suspended spine. Picture a hammock strung between 2 posts. Now imagine adding weight to the middle of it. That sag, that extra strain on the anchor points, is exactly what excess body fat does to a dachshund's back. Every additional pound multiplies the pressure on the discs between their vertebrae. The tricky part is that dachshunds gain weight almost invisibly. Their low-slung shape hides it, their pleading eyes earn it, and their portion sizes are so small that an extra handful of kibble or a few table scraps represent a huge percentage of their daily calories. So an owner who has kept their dachshund lean has usually fought a quiet daily battle against those begging eyes and won. If your dachshund has a visible waist tuck when viewed from above and ribs you can feel but not see, that's evidence of discipline, measured meals, and love expressed through restraint rather than treats. That's high-level care. Sign 3. Their nails are silent on hard floors. Close your eyes the next time your dachshund walks across tile or hardwood. What do you hear? If the answer is almost nothing, congratulations! If you hear a rhythmic click, 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 there's work to do. This one sounds small, but for a dachshund, it's surprisingly important. And here's the mechanism most owners never learn. When nails are too long, they touch the ground before the paw pad fully does. That forces the toes to splay and shifts the dog's weight backward, subtly changing their posture with every single step. For a breed whose entire structure depends on balanced weight distribution along a long spine, thousands of slightly wrong steps per day add up. Long nails in a dachshund don't just risk snags and splits, they quietly alter the way the whole body carries itself. Dachshunds are also notoriously dramatic about paw handling, which means keeping their nails short requires an owner who has done the patient work of desensitizing them to it, or who has committed to regular grooming appointments despite the theatrical protests. Silent nails on a dachshund are never an accident. They're the sound, or rather the absence of sound, of consistent maintenance from someone paying attention to the details. Sign 4. They burrow, then sleep deeply. Every dachshund owner knows the burrowing, the frantic digging at blankets, the disappearing act under the duvet, the little nose poking out of a mound of fabric. But here's what most owners don't realize. It's not just the burrowing that signals a well-cared-for dachshund, it's what happens after. A dachshund who feels genuinely secure will burrow, settle, and then drop into deep, heavy sleep. We're talking full body relaxation, twitching paws during dreams, soft snoring, sleeping through household noises that would have them on high alert otherwise. That depth of sleep only happens when a dog's nervous system fully stands down, and a dachshund's nervous system only stands down when their world feels predictable and safe. Compare that to a dachshund living with chronic, low-level stress. They'll still burrow because the instinct is hardwired, but they sleep light. They startle at small sounds. They reposition constantly. They pop their head up every time someone moves. Their body is resting, but their mind never clocks out. So the sign to look for isn't the blanket diving itself, it's the quality of the stillness that follows. If your dachshund can vanish under a blanket in the middle of a normal household evening and stay genuinely, deeply asleep, that tells you they trust their environment completely. Routines are consistent. The home feels stable. Nobody unpredictable or frightening shares their space. Deep sleep is the report card of a secure life, and your dachshund fills it out every single day without knowing it. Sign 6. Their bark has an off switch. Let's be honest with each other for a moment. Your dachshund barks. All dachshunds bark. They have a shockingly big voice for a small body, and they were designed to use it. Anyone who tells you a well-cared-for dachshund is a quiet dachshund has never actually lived with one. The real sign of good care isn't silence, it's recovery. Watch what happens after the doorbell rings or the neighbor's cat strolls past the window. A dachshund who has been given structure and mental engagement will sound the alarm, absolutely, but then they can be called off. They alert, you acknowledge it, and within a short time, they're able to let it go and return to whatever they were doing. The bark has an off switch. A dachshund who is understimulated or anxious is different. The barking doesn't resolve, it loops. They stay wound up long after the trigger is gone, pacing, whining, unable to settle. That's not a naughty dog. That's a dog with a full tank of unused mental energy and nowhere to put it. Dachshunds are working dogs in a small package. They were bred to solve problems, track scents, and make independent decisions. And that brain doesn't switch off just because they live on a couch now. An owner who provides sniff-heavy walks, food puzzles, scent games, or even a designated digging spot is draining that mental tank every day. The payoff is a dog who can experience a trigger, respond, and then genuinely relax. If your dachshund can come down from a barking fit within a minute or two, that recovery is the fingerprint of a mentally fulfilled dog. It's one of the most overlooked signs on this entire list. Sign 6. They let you handle the awkward places. Here's a simple test you can do right now. Gently touch your dachshund's paws, one by one. Lift an ear flap and look inside. Run a finger along their gum line. Lift their tails slightly. Touch along their lower back and hips. A well-cared-for dachshund will tolerate all of this. Not necessarily enjoy it, but tolerate it, without freezing, snapping, or scrambling away in panic. And that tolerance is worth its weight in gold because it tells you two separate things at once. First, it tells you there's no hidden pain. Dachshunds guard sore spots fiercely, especially along the back. A dog who lets you run your hands down their spine without flinching, tensing, or whipping their head around is a dog whose back currently feels fine. That simple daily touch test is one of the earliest detection tools you have for spinal trouble, and dogs who are handled regularly make it possible. And second, it tells you the groundwork was done. Dachshunds are famously opinionated about their own bodies. A dachshund who accepts paw handling, ear checks, and tooth inspection is a dachshund whose owner invested weeks or months of gentle, rewarded practice. That investment pays off enormously at the vet, at the groomer, and in every emergency where the dog needs to be examined. If your dachshund lets you handle the awkward places, you've built something valuable, and you should recognize it as the achievement it is. Sign 7. Their coat matches their variety and it gleams. Dachshunds come in 3 coat types, and a well-cared-for example of each looks distinctly different, which is why generic shiny coat advice falls flat for this breed. If yours is smooth-coated, the coat should lie flat and tight against the body, with a gloss you can almost see your reflection in, and their skin, especially around the chest and belly where they're prone to dryness, should be free of flaking. If yours is long-haired, the feathering behind the legs, ears, and tail should be silky and free of matting, because that's where neglect shows up first. And if yours is wire-haired, that coarse outer coat should feel crisp, not soft and shapeless, which happens when the coat is never stripped or maintained properly. In all 3 cases, the coat is a slow-motion readout of everything happening inside your dog. Quality nutrition shows up in the coat about 6 to 8 weeks after it goes in the bowl, because hair is built from the protein and fatty acids in their diet. Stress, poor food, and underlying illness all dull the coat before they show up anywhere else. So when a dachshund's coat gleams and their skin is calm and comfortable, you're looking at the compounded result of good food, low stress, and regular grooming stacked up week after week. A great coat is never just a great coat. It's a receipt. Sign 8. They check in with you, then carry on. The final sign is the most subtle, and it might be the most meaningful. Watch your dachshund in the garden, on a walk, or while they're busy investigating something fascinating. Every so often, a well-adjusted dachshund will glance back at you. Just a quick look. Where are you? Still there? Good. And then they carry on with their business. That little check-in is the sweet spot of the human-dachshund relationship, and it's harder to achieve with this breed than almost any other. Here's why. Dachshunds are independent by design. Left to their own devices, they'll happily ignore you for a scent trail, but push too far the other way, coddle them, carry them everywhere, never let them be apart from you, and you create the opposite problem, a Velcro dog who panics the moment you leave a room, which in dachshunds frequently curdles into full separation anxiety, destroyed cushions, and hours of distress barking. The check-in and carry-on pattern means you've landed in the healthy middle. Your dog is bonded enough to care where you are and secure enough not to need constant contact. They can be alone in another room without falling apart. They can engage with the world confidently because you're their anchor, not their oxygen. That balance doesn't happen by luck. It's built through consistent leadership, gradual alone time practice, and a relationship based on trust rather than dependence. If your dachshund checks in and carries on, you haven't just cared for a dog, you've raised a confident one. So let's take stock. Fluid movement with no hesitation, ribs you can feel but not see, silent nails, deep sleep after the burrow, a bark with an off switch, tolerance for handling, a coat that gleams the way their variety should, and that little check-in glance that says you've built trust without dependence. Notice what these 8 signs have in common. None of them are about how much money you spend, how many toys are in the basket, or how fancy the food brand is. Every single one is the visible outcome of quiet, consistent, unglamorous daily care. Protecting the spine, measuring the meals, doing the grooming nobody sees, providing the mental work, building the trust. Dachshunds don't thrive on grand gestures, they thrive on repetition, and these signs are simply repetition made visible. If you went through this list and your dachshund ticked most of these boxes, take a moment and actually give yourself credit, because a thriving dachshund is not an easy dog to produce. And if you found 1 or 2 gaps, that's not a failing, that's a to-do list, and now you know exactly where to focus. Here's what I'd love you to do next. Go down to the comments and tell me which of these 8 signs your dachshund shows most strongly, and which one surprised you. I read every comment, and your answers help shape the videos we make next. If this video helped you see your dachshund a little more clearly, hit that like button so it reaches more dachshund owners who need it, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because we go deep on this breed every single week, and you don't want to miss what's coming. Your dachshund can't tell you they're thriving, but now you can see it for yourself. I'll see you in the next one.